Yes, family. Welcome back. This is your boy, Brother Jakim. So now what we're about to deal with is part 2. All right? You bless Israel, you will be blessed. You curse Israel, guess what? You will be cursed. So there's like 3 examples that I definitely want to touch on. Coming into, the truth, you realize that it's definitely about nations. The Most High, judges nations, and he weighs the balance based upon what they do. But very important, Israel, the ones in captivity, okay? You Black Latinos and Native Americans. Israel is a people before a place, all right? So we're about to touch three situations that went down in our records where the Most High turned situations that were meant for us to be bad, turn it for good, okay? Good examples of the Most High blessing us and helping those people that actually went out their way, okay, to make sure that we were secure. So one of the main records, okay, that showed things just going from really evil to really good for Israel was when the Most High delivered us, okay, from the hands of Haman and all that serve him, and every one of them who wanted to kill us, the Israelites, okay? The Most High put favor on us in our captivity, and what was meant for evil, okay, end up working out for good. So watch this. Esther chapter 3 and verse 8. And Haman said unto the king, Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of the kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all other people, from all people. Neither keep they the king's law. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of this business, to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and Agite, the Jews' enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemed good to thee. So when you read this backstory, the king just got rid of one of his most prideful wives. He called her and she decided not to come down, okay? She was known as Queen Vashti. She was very beautiful and the king wanted to show her off, and she decided not to show up. Long story short, she didn't come. They made a council and stripped her of her royalty, and she was never ever known to ever grace the palace again. So what did the king do? The king went out and looked for one of the best upcoming concubines, or what you would have. He was looking for his wife, his next queen, and what he found a woman that took his heart, okay? This was what you would know as, this is Hadassah. In the Bible, her name was Hadassah, but when she got into the captivity, okay, they changed her name to Esther, all right? So Esther played a very pivotal role in helping us, the Israelites, escape that wicked judgment, because when Haman told the king, look, these people, they don't follow the laws that you set up. They follow their own God, and we need to get rid of them. So the obvious thing for the king was, yeah, I'm going to give you men and money, and you're going to go and take care of these people. Now, in the background, the Most High had a plan that was going to shock and change everything. All right? Jump to Esther in the Apocrypha, chapter 11. And it says, in the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemy and Cleopatra, Dacetarus, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemy his son, brought this epistle of PURIM, which they said was the same, and that Lysimachus, the son of Ptolemy, that was in Jerusalem, had interpreted. So what you're about to read, it was interpreted from Greek into the Hebrew. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, in the 1st day of the month Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jairus, the son of Shimei, the son of Kesiah, of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream, who was a Jew, and dwelt in the city of Susha, a great man, being a servitor in the king's court. He was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon carried from Jerusalem, which Jeconiah king of Judea, and this was his dream. Okay, so Mordecai, he was taken, all right, as many of us were, and brought to Babylon, okay, under Nebuchadnezzar, and he was carried away from Jerusalem with Jeconiah king of Judea, okay. And this was the dream. Behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. And behold, 2 great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. And at their cry all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. Then they cried unto God, and upon their city, and it were from a little fountain was made a great flood, even much water. The light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted, and devoured the glorious. Now, when Mordecai, who had seen this dream, and what God had determined to do, was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night, by all means, was desirous to know it. All right. So Esther was in a position. Where she could reach the king if there was any issues with her people. She found out through Mordecai that Haman was planning on doing a mass genocide to her people. Okay? All because Mordecai did not bow down to him. Okay? When he would pass by or come into the city or come near the king's court. He despised Israelites very, very much. Okay? Like the Most High say, their envy rusted like iron. It will always rust. Okay? It will always get worse. There was no love for us. So this man took it further because he had power. And he got the authorization to send letters to all the neighboring cities. And anywhere we were, the Israelites were, he was trying to get us killed. So let's see what happened. Because he planned to hang Mordecai on the gallows. He told his wife about it. Okay? He was joyful because The king already had set him up, gave him his ring, but his main goal was to kill us, the Israelites. But the Most High had put Esther in the king's court, and Esther was beloved, was loved by the king, and anything that woman wanted, she could ask the king for, and the king was going to grant it. Because on many occasions, the king offered her half of his kingdom. Okay? But Mordecai reminded her, look, yes, you're in a high position in captivity, but you must look out for your people. You're not just in here for good looks. You're in here to be very strategic and to make sure that you end up being a savior to Israel. All right? So watch this. Esther chapter 6, verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor and dignity had been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the court, into the outward court of the king's house, to speak unto the king, to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to himself? And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king used to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man with all whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback throughout the streets of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor. Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor. Verse 10. Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai, the Jew, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Then Haman took the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the streets of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house, mourning, and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife, and all his friends, everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. All right, chapter 7. So the king and the Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen, and the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. So she could have asked for anything, even half the kingdom. The Most High was gonna give that to her through this king. But listen exactly what she asked for. Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. So now she's about to reveal who she is. Earlier when you read in the chapter, Mordecai told her, do not tell the people that you are Israelite. Do not tell them that you are Hebrew. Okay? Even back then, we were very despised. Okay? And she could blend in, because if you know anything about the Persians and basically this king, they were dark skinned. Okay? They're basically the East Indians. Alright? So we look similar to them from our skin tone. Okay? So this was going into, guess what? Another nation hating the Israelites, hating the Jews, and wanted to see us dead. Okay? Chapter 7, verse 4. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he, and where is he, that just presumed in his heart to do so? And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And he need to be afraid, because guess what? Esther basically invited him to this banquet. Okay? He thought he was going to be honored, but Esther was basically using her power, okay, to bring him in front of the king, with her being there, with her explaining exactly what this guy wanted to do. Okay? He wanted to kill our nation. That was always the plan. The plan has never stopped being the plan. That's why the Most High have these stories in the Bible, so we could build our faith and pray that he deliver us from the wicked nations. Alright? And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king arose from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther, the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Oh my Lord. Then said the king, Will he force the queen also before me in the house? Because that was like a disrespect. How in the world are you going to fall in the same bed as the queen? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. So they just grab you up, man, and just cover your head with a piece of bark and just pull him out, man. You know what I mean? Take him away. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good of the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. So they hang Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. All right. So that was a clear example of, guess what? Us raising from the ranks, from nobody, from slave. Then one of our beautiful women got into position of royalty. She became queen. She heard about the plot that Haman was going to do. Her uncle told her. Her uncle's name was Mordecai. Mordecai did something years back where he never got honored for it. The king couldn't sleep. He was told about what Haman did. He was like, you know what? Let me bless this guy. He ended up blessing him. Haman had to go real low and honor Mordecai. And from doing that, he despised Mordecai even more. Come to find out, the day came, he had to go to the banquet. Esther revealed to the king, guess what? They got somebody who really want to kill my people, wipe us out. Guess what? The Most High put it on the king's heart to believe Esther, and what was meant for evil was meant for good. All right? So this is an example of the Most High blessing us. And this man, Haman, who cursed Israel, who cursed us, got cursed 10 times more. When you read on, his family got killed. Okay? And everybody who was planning to execute that judgment that he set up. All right? All praises to the Most High for that. So there you have it, clear and cut. You curse Israel, you will get cursed. You bless Israel, you will get blessed. It's written in stone, people. That's one reason why there must be a separation of who the Israelites are and who the Gentile nations are. We did not set it up, the Most High set it up. All right, so there's going to be a third part and a fourth part. The next part coming up is going to be with Joshua. And then the one after that is going to be with Balak and Balaam. Let's see how the Most High deal with these people.